Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Talking Hoops. It's your girl, Coach Johnson, followed by Mr. Worldwide, Ron Briscoe, and the lovely Coach Mack. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing
Doing great, man.
fabulous.
So many things to jump into tonight that when I was going over my list, I was having a hard time saying, where should we start? So many great things and updates going on with the NBA right now. Coach Max G League babies, as we like to call them. We've got
Yes.
some major NCAA updates coming from Ron. And of course, I always have to bring some NBA controversy to the show. Lots of great topics to discuss tonight. But one of the ones that I think is a great starting point to highlight after a career night for Luca, who scored
Woo!
Luca.
73 points and
That's
I believe only missed, maybe was it 7 shots for the whole game? I
hmm
mean, just extreme efficiency. Uh, a phenomenal player to watch. And now, the birds are kind of chirping and whispering. And now the question that I have for the crew tonight, as well as our wonderful viewers, is is Luca on the level or on his way to being one of the NBA greats that we like to compare with Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, and the likes?
In my
Ron, I'll let you
opinion,
answer this one first.
I appreciate that. In my opinion, yes. I will put him in that category. He's in the conversation. The things that he does game in and game out tremendous. The crowd looks forward to watching him play. He plays hard. He has great footwork. His inside moves are tremendous. And nobody can really stop him. I mean, he can shoot it from outside, inside. He's a very good passer. So, yes, when you mention him, you gotta, talk about a little bit about, is he as good as Jordan, MB, is he as good as LeBron, is he as good as just a number of players that we know in the past that have been really good players in the NBA. Yes, his name will come up in the conversation a lot. I know with the guys that I talk with, we discuss Luca all the time.
Mhm.
And Coach, I can't wait to hear what your comments are about him as well, Coach Mack.
You see, I had this big smile on my face when it
I
comes
see
to
it. I see
Luca.
it. I
Because
Instant.
see
It
it.
was it was
about
immediate.
just yes, it was about 3 weeks ago, we were having the conversation about is Dirk better or is Luca better?
Right.
And my response is, I think I will probably take Luca. And I say that
Mm,
because for one,
Ooh.
mm.
he's only 24 years old. Let's think about that.
Very
And
true.
already he's outscored how many players at this age? So I mean, it's only up from here. So why not? So yes, I'm team Luca. Let's go Mavs. You know, Luca is my guy. I love his game. And the thing that I love about him is that he doesn't try to overdo things. He's gonna
Mhm.
be the same player that he is, and he doesn't do anything spectacular. He's very fundamental, as you know, and he talked about it himself, where he thinks European basketball is a lot more difficult than it is here. So when you got a player like that, I mean, you can't help but go with him. So yes, I'm Team Luca. I think he definitely should be in the conversation with him. So hey, again, let's go Mavs.
Well,
You representing Dallas real well, real now with
right,
that.
right. We need to get her a
Yes.
T-shirt down there, Ron.
I already got one.
We
I'm gonna wear it one day.
we need to get her where the pom poms at, okay? But on the heels of that question, as Coach Mack just mentioned, Luca did make a comment recently that he feels like it is easier to score here in the United States than it is in European basketball. And my question, and as a player who has played in the European system, I
Mm,
do have to agree that I've seen in men's basketball the differences. But I now, just to get you guys' perspective, do from a standpoint of, is it the rules of the NBA versus Europe and the way that the games are refereed that it's more tailored to the offensive player here and USA's, and then you have, we as we know, the lack of defense that we see at the professional level here is astronomical. Okay,
you
it
can
is.
say that again.
There is no reason for a team to have 120 points in the third quarter of any basketball game on any level. And that's just my personal opinion. I feel like if you can't do anything else, the least you can do is run up and
Play
down that
defense.
floor and play some defense. That is all heart. That is hustle. You can't, now, a player, yes, they can be on fire. They might not miss a shot. But you can't tell me that a large part of that is the lack of effort and hustle and the desire to play with some effort and get down in a stance and guard your yard, as my coach used to like to say.
That's true.
So, just from a perspective of analyzing the differences, what do you all think is the biggest difference that you see in European basketball versus USA basketball that would maybe make it easier to score here?
Well, coach, I haven't seen a lot of European basketball like you have. The only time I have an opportunity to see them play is during the Olympics or
Hmm.
the World Cup or something like that. And maybe I may see a video of my friend that's playing overseas. Send me he'll send me a little clip of him doing something. But European basketball is really starting to be American basketball in the NBA. By the way, they spread the floor
Hmm.
down and they'll play defense and they just run and run and run and score 3 points and just do their best to get to the basket. It's just I don't know. It's just different. Uh, I'm so used to
Hmm.
the old way of guarding somebody and being competitive on the court. And I like to hear what our listeners and fans have to say about this too. I hope that they put in the comments about what do they think. Do they think the European ball is a lot better than the way they play in America? I like to hear what they have to say. But it's just it's just wide open. They space the floor really good, which is good, and they open the lanes up, which is really good. But I'd rather
Hmm.
see people guard people and be competitive and make a game out of it. Make a have a little bit of meaning. I mean, 145 points. I'm like, come on, this can't be real. So
It's insane. It's insane. And we have a comment from Jimmy G, and forgive me if it's Tata or Tata, said, "Don't forget about Shaq." Oh, absolutely not. I can never forget about Shaq. Let's make that very clear. I wore number 34 for a reason, okay?
you represent, huh?
Oh, all day, every day. Oh, there we go. My grandparents. Here we go. There we go. We had to get a name
Precious.
change going there. And Coach Mac, what are your thoughts?
So I'm thinking about this from my experience as a teammate when I had a teammate who was from Turkey and we played ball together. And so just when she came, she was very young, first off. So she, I think, entered college at 16.
Hmm.
So when she came in, her style of play was very different compared to the rest of our game. And so the coach, that was something that he wasn't accustomed to, which I find to be very interesting. So now we're talking. maybe what year is this? Probably 2004, somewhere around there. So just thinking back then when the European style really wasn't common or just around at that moment. But watching her style of play was so exciting to me because
Hmm.
she saw the floor differently. Her moves and her footwork and everything was like differently. But at the same time, it was very fundamental. And so, just thinking about her game overall, and just thinking about what the game has become now, as Ron stated, is what you're starting to see the NBA becoming because the floor is much spread, or the players are spreading things out so much more. Now, as far as defense, listen, I don't even know what to tell you about that. I don't know if we can blame it on the refs, if we can just blame it on a lack of effort. I mean, like where do you start with that one? Because defense is something that you want to do. It's not anything that just, you know, pretty much come at you. You have to work for it.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
mean, do we have players that just don't want to put that much effort, don't want to feel like they just want to work to play? I mean, until it gets to like playoffs, that's really when you start seeing games and start seeing defense being played. But I don't know. I do think that the refs do play a role as far as the change that's happening with the league, which is why we're starting to see a lot of less defense being played, which
Hmm.
I hate. Um, but I don't know. It's starting to be interesting to see what basketball is starting to evolve into.
Let me
Oh
add
yeah.
this. Let me add this about the play. Back in the day, you could put your hands on a offensive player and hand
Mm.
check him a little bit, and that right there they have taken out of the game now. And the
Mm.
hand checking, you really didn't really hold him, but you kind of like, you could push him and guide him and, send him to where you wanted to send him during the hand checking days. And right now that is out. You put your hands on somebody, they blowing that whistle right away. And then
Immediately.
something, yeah,
It's almost a tech.
anything. It's almost a tech. So that's the difference in the game defensive wise. You can't put your hands on them. A lot of people don't have the foot speed to slide and move
Hmm.
and pivot open or to open up, and they just kind of like just don't play defense anymore. They just play that matador defense, which happens all the time, and that's why you have those scores in 145 and some 160. You never know. You
Oh
never know.
yeah.
Every game to me is an all-star game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will
Yeah.
have to say that I think hand checking is a great point, Ron. In addition to adding the 3-second defensive rule,
Right,
I
Mm-hmm.
think that
right.
had a significant impact because now you're really eliminating help side.
Mm-hmm.
And while I am a firm believer in man to man defense over a zone, I do think there's appropriate times for a zone. But
Hmm.
if you can't guard your yard, you in some trouble. This help side is not going to be able to sit on split line for you. And, you have a 7-footer down there sitting on split. So, you can kind of give a little leadway to them, going to the basket, attacking, being aggressive because help side is going to be there.
Right.
Where that makes it very difficult now to be able to play help side. And then you factor in your 5 man is out there at the top of the key shooting threes. You almost
Hmm.
can't help.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get caught slipping. We see Wimby out there, we see Chet out there. I mean, you have Lopez, you have all of these guys, Embiid, who are your big man, but they can knock down the three. They're a threat where you're really having to open up the
Right.
court and actually have to play some one-on-one defense. But on the heels of that, I do have one thing for you guys that was not on my list, but I found to be very interesting. Two things. Mr. Joel Embiid. Okay.
Oh, poor
First,
thing.
poor,
first,
poor, poor thing with those knees. Oh,
first
Ooh.
things
Joel.
first. And I wanted to get both of you all's take on this. So, Joel Embiid was set in the 76ers. They were set to play Denver the other night.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And 15 minutes before the game, Joel Embiid gets added to the injury reserve list. And for now, however many games we're at since 2018, he has
Mm-hmm.
not played in a game in a matchup against Denver in Denver. Can somebody please help me understand what's going on?
So I'll do you one even better. How about Denver didn't even know why he wasn't playing until after the fact. So before the game, they didn't know. They just knew he wasn't going to play, in which obviously they were prepared. But the coach said in the interview they didn't know what was going on. They expect for the NBA to investigate it further. But for that to be a no show, no call, quite interesting.
Oh, guys, it's the altitude. Come on now, don't play dumb. It's the altitude. No,
He
I'm
can't
just
breathe
kidding.
in Denver.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. It's not the altitude. Let's take a look at him. He's the type of guy that really hadn't finished most of the in his NBA career in a season playing a large number of games. He's up for the MVP. If he misses like 5 or 6 more games, he's going to become ineligible to be a guy that's going to be a candidate for the MVP in the NBA.
Yeah. He's
His
running out of
knee,
Hmm.
PTO.
right? He's running out of that. So it's amazing how many guys. And I read this the other day on the internet. Somebody was talking about in the last few years, this is how many NBA players have played the full season. I don't know if it was Stephen A. Smith going over somebody, but anyway,
Mhm.
they were saying like, LeBron James that played, 82 games, or Michael Jordan that played 82 games for like 6 years in a
Hmm.
row, Scottie Pippen. He was just going down the list, and then he got to the future. Zion Williamson hadn't played, but maybe 50 games, maybe 75 games in the last 2 years, and MB hadn't played that many games. AD hadn't played that many games. So he was just going down the list, just talking about the different guys that were just taking games off for whatever reasons. May it
Mhm.
be that they didn't feel like playing, they were exhausted, they were fatigued, or they had injuries. And that just doesn't seem right to me. What do you guys think? I want to know what our fans think about that. What do you think about the guys taking off and all about them not playing the amount of games that they're getting paid for anyway?
I just think
Well,
we have a softer generation.
mm,
Just
Really?
bottom line.
Mm,
Yes.
mm,
Now I understand family, family issues or injuries. That I get. But
yes.
outside of that, I mean, what would really be a reason for you to just not be your pinky toe is broken? You know how many players that I've known that have played with probably a broken pinky toe or a
Me?
bruised knee or anything such as that? So I mean, it's anything that they would have a reason to just not play. And so that's why I feel like that the generation is a lot softer compared to Jordan, Rodman, and things as such, or Larry Bird and things like that. I mean, you practically have to just like shoot them for them to not
There
appear.
you go.
But now, just blow on them and somebody from the fall out, and they got to be out for a game, and that's it.
And I'm getting
ye-
my $25,000 a game too.
yeah.
You can
I
count on
Oh,
that. They're gonna pay
absolutely.
me.
I will say this. I do think that maybe we might need to dig a little bit deeper, and this is just speculation.
Hmm.
But and this is what I'm noticing in youth basketball
Hmm.
is that this huge push for my kid to go D1. My kids got to go to the league. My kids got to get the opportunity. So are we having some issues with potential overtraining in the youth years,
Yeah.
doing some overtraining with this emphasis that you have to do this to go to D1, especially with the pressures of parents, where, a lot of these guys in the past maybe didn't have those same outlets of AAU and,
Hmm.
where they weren't playing games every single weekend, practicing three, four
Mhm.
times a week with one team. And then they're playing on the school team as well. And, there's games every weekend. So now it just kind of poses as, because they're so young to be having
Hmm.
these injuries to
Mhm.
where they can't play. I mean, if you look down the line, think about like the Lonzo Balls, the Zach Levines, Zion Williamsons, the ADs. I mean, these young guys who are significant injury. Halliburton, he's also
Ben
5 games away from not being able to be an All Star candidate, and
and
it's
Ben
like these.
Simmons, who's out now.
And then Ben Simmons, who is out now, and so, and he has a back injury. I mean, these are
Yeah, he has
not
a back injury. Yeah.
these are not minor injuries for guys this young. And
Mhm.
so it just poses the question of, is there a problem on the youth level? Have parents become obsessed with, their parents, I mean, with their kids being able to get an opportunity, and now we're having some overtraining because the fact of all of these injuries, like you said, Ron and Coach Mac, bruised knees and broken bones, and that's enough to not play. It's just it really makes you wonder. It really
Coach,
makes you wonder.
you're right, Coach. There is, when I was in the EYB department with Nike, we felt that there was some overtraining with players. You didn't have to come to every event. You didn't have to work out as much, so many days in a row. You do need to take rest days. You do need to like unwind and not be fatigued, because sometimes you come out there and after reading about Kobe and watching some Kobe clips and hearing him talk about, he goes out and does this for 5 or 6 hours, and you try to do the same thing and you burn yourself out. And then when you step out on the court, you can't even move because your muscles are
Mhm.
fatigued. And you do need to rest your muscles and have a balance in your life when it comes to playing sports. And there are some young adults that get out there and they overdo it. And
Mhm.
I agree. I agree with you.
Mhm.
Yeah, they overdo it. They do too much. They work out too much, and they need to just learn how to balance themselves and get their rest, and just slowly maintain a good physical shape and playing shape to be able to run up and down the court so that they'll be ready. And they don't need to work out that much. No, they do not.
Yes, T, I definitely agree with you on that part. And I think about my son, for example, because just thinking about how much they work out, how much they play, and there's really like no rest in between. And so I tell him to get a rest because look,
Yeah,
first off, we're not going to be spending no money on a doctor bill because of these injuries. Let's go
that's
ahead and
right.
get that out there. But
Coach,
Better go get
Coach
you
says,
some ginger ale and go lay down, huh?
okay, so one thing I don't fight him on is resting because, like you said, both of you guys said your body does need that proper rest. And just thinking about when we were playing T, because I know we were close in age, but at like for mostly our generation, we didn't play 4 games in one day back to back to back to back to back to
right,
back
right,
and then turn
right.
around have another week doing the same thing. But that's what you're seeing now between high school and AAU, which is wild to me. And so I always ask, like, man, like y'all don't take a day off
Yeah,
or anything. It's just, it's ridiculous, and it puts so much pressure on their joints and on their bodies and things such as that. And so then when I think about myself compared to the kids now, I'm like, I'm in much better shape now than I was then, but I also know how to take care of my body. And
right.
so if I were to go play against some girls, and I'm gonna put my face in this camera because I can still give somebody some buckets.
Hey,
But
Oh, there she go.
hey.
There she go. TCU, you
but the
missed her.
thing is, I learned how to. First off, I learned how to breathe. That was the main thing because breathing is so
Mhm.
key when it comes to running and the longevity of running. But I learned how to learn certain techniques when it comes to working out. And a lot of coaches don't understand that. A lot of coaches don't understand how important it is to rest. that your body needs to recover. It needs to rest to recover. And you don't see that now. Like we were talking about the other day, how we're starting to see more and more players become injured early in the season, which is crazy. UConn team got so many players out right now for injury. We were watching the LSU game and the South Carolina game the other day. They look like they were out of shape. So it's like, really, what is going on with basketball as a whole?
Yes, absolutely. I will say, just from my personal experience, I was the player that was doing the crazy training and played for multiple basketball teams. And I ran track and I played soccer and I was playing with the older girls and with my age group. And I will say, my body now is like, why would you ever? And I did struggle with that in college. I do unfortunately have a degenerated Achilles tendon. I did have stress fractures and had to get cortisone shots in my feet. And so I will say I definitely look at rest a little bit different. I mean, I just used to be an energizer bunny and could go all day. But now I view totally different resting and the importance of it. And really, I mean, I can't blame my parents. My my mom used to tell me all the time, I don't think you should play. And I'd say, you don't think I should play? Like, I'm playing, and so I definitely view it a lot different now. And it's in, Coach Mac, like you said, thinking about your son, it is important to listen to your body and take that rest because boy, I'm paying for it now. Granted, I
Hmm.
have learned how to take better care of my body and I do feel like I'm stronger and in good shape, but
Hmm.
I can attest to doing too much and the effects it has on the body. But Coach Mack, you brought up something that I wanted to highlight, and that is LSU and South Carolina. First of
Oh
all, I
man,
just want to say shout out to the fans for tuning in and
Yes.
watching women's basketball. That makes
Yes.
me so happy. And
me
to
too.
hear that there were more viewers for a women's NCAA game than it was for an NBA game just really warmed my spirit. And
Yes.
what a game it was to watch between two powerhouse teams and South Carolina being able to come away with the win. Some important takeaways from this game, like you said, Coach Mack, it was a lot of heavy breathing, knee grabbing, dirt pulling. It was a lot of that going on. I was actually kind of concerned as well. I said it's a lot of huff and puffing going on out
Oh
there.
Mm.
yes.
To be Division 1 athletes who are in the middle of season, I'm really shocked at how exhausted both teams looked getting up and down the floor.
Yes.
But I did want to get some input from you all about what are your thoughts and takeaway on the most anticipated game? Well, one of the most anticipated games of the season.
Let me start this off because I know Coach Mack is gonna. I gotta I gotta get my lick in early because Coach Mack is gonna clean up the floor up with me. Anyway, I don't know if y'all watched the last episode of Talking Hoops where Coach Mack and I were talking about. We was gonna put a little wager. I said that LSU was gonna win by 3, and Coach said she wanted her 10. I want my 10 points. And she went off. She ended the show talking about she ended the show talking about I want my 10 points. Okay, very good game. I got to give it to them. The crowd, outstanding. The amount of viewers, off the chart. I really enjoyed it. You were right, Coach Johnson. A lot of huffing and puffing. They were out of shape. They're not in shape. Those girls were not in shape. South Carolina girls are in shape, but the LSU girls, not in shape. And they struggled. Angel Reese was so fatigued that that last foul that she gave that girl, she was ready to get out of the game. That's why she gave the foul the way she gave it, because she couldn't walk and stand up. So she was ready to get out of the game, but I got to give it to a Pow Pow. Uh, what's her name?
Hmm.
I always call her Cordoba. I don't think her name is Cordoba. What's her name? The big girl for South
Cordoza.
Carolina,
Cordoza.
Cardoza. Cardoza put on a
Hmm.
show. I really, really like those girls. South Carolina is going to be the team to beat. I know Notre Dame's playing really well, and Colorado and UCLA and some other teams are playing really well. But anyway, South Carolina is the team to beat. They beat the LSU Tigers, but that game was the best game I've seen the LSU Lady Tigers play. Uh, they were nip and tuck, close, but when it got down to the end, like 4 or 5 minutes ago, they just didn't have any gas in that tank, like South Carolina did, and South Carolina just closed the door and beat them by 5, which, in my opinion, was really good. That game was a must see game, and a game that didn't disappoint a lot of people. But me and my LSU Tigers went down.
Okay, Coach Mack, really quick, before you answer, I want you to please add an answer into the question we just got from Dallas Johnson. If Reese doesn't foul out, does LSU win? So when you give your synopsis, please, I want to hear an answer to that as well, and your thoughts on that.
Me too.
Now, now, if we're talking about it, let me say this. Let me start out with this because I was kind of disappointed in LSU that they didn't take advantage of the performance that South Carolina did because South Carolina did not play their best game. LSU should have won this game and they didn't. Um, Definitely talk about Angel with the dumb foul. Yes, that was a dumb foul. That's one that you can definitely call a dumb foul because you knew
Hmm.
that was your last one. You at the end of the game and y'all this close in the game. Anywho, and then Kim, no timeouts. So you didn't think that at some point in a close game that wasn't critical? And then also just her whole scheme of defensively, like she didn't adapt as she should have
True.
against South Carolina at the points that she should. So I was very disappointed that LSU didn't take advantage of South Carolina not performing at their best. But that's also scary because South Carolina was not performing at their best. So the next time this matchup comes up, to answer your question, Mr. Johnson, no, they will not win. And for them to
Dang,
be
it
this
hurt.
close, and I mean the shooter percentage for South Carolina, I didn't even look it up, but I just know it was poor. It wasn't the greatest for them.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the decisions that they were making offensively, I was really getting irritated watching them play because that's just not how they play. But it was the
Hmm.
decisions that they were making, the bad passes, and just I mean, I don't know what they were thinking or what they were going through, but they still pulled it out. And they could have been close to 10, but that's okay. It was over 5, so I'm gonna still take that wager. I still won that wager.
Ron, make sure
I
you
still won
grease
that
her
wager and got
palm.
close to 10.
Make sure you grease Coach Mac
He
palm
said
up.
10 points. I'm on 10.5, don't
I
count
said
10.
10. It was over 5. We was at 6. It could have been 7, but she missed the free throw, but that's okay. It was 6, so we was over 5. So I'm gonna take that wager. But yeah,
Yes.
the next time they match up, I think South Carolina is going to be a lot more
Yeah,
prepared. They're going to be ready, and I don't think the game is going to be as close because LSU looked
they out of
too
shape.
out of shape to be. Yeah, and then they had to give Angel all types of electrolytes because she was
Yeah,
cramping and stuff.
she was
Like,
fatigued.
girl, really?
Yeah,
Very
And
fatigued.
and we have a comment from Angel behind the glass. Coach Kim should get fined for some of her outfits.
Man, you keep
Absolutely.
letting her
oh,
out the house with that.
You know,
Please.
where is Kim from?
she's from Louisiana,
Louisiana.
Oh,
Hammond, Louisiana.
no offense, Ron, but there we have it. So
Oh, don't talk like that about my
and
people down
no,
here.
I got it. I love to mess with you, Ron. You know that's one of my favorite things to do on a Wednesday night.
I know, I
Now,
know, I know,
now
I know.
speaking of Angel Reese and crew,
Mm.
we had some interesting comments made recently by Cheryl Swoops,
What?
WNBA legend,
Yep.
basketball legend. First of all, let me not just put WNBA. This
Yeah,
is
she's a
Miss
basketball
Swoops,
lady.
okay?
Yeah.
She made a statement that Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, though being good players, will not have an immediate impact in the WNBA the way that fans think they would. And I just wanted to get you
Wow.
guys' thoughts surrounding that. I think that's a very bold statement to say, as we know. Now, we have spoke on this show recently before that we do agree Angel needs a little bit more developmental work, especially when it
Definite.
comes to her inside moves, her decision making around the basket, footwork. Those things definitely could be cleaned up. But Caitlin Clark, who has been performing on the extremely high level, for Cheryl Swoops to say that she doesn't believe that she'll have an immediate impact. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Let me start this off, Coach Johnson, and say that I understand where Cheryl Swoop's coming from, but I beg your pardon, Cheryl Swoop, on Caitlin Clark. I saw her play the other day, and she was shooting the ball in the logo out there. I was like, dang, Caitlin can't. I thought she was Stephen Curry shooting the ball way out there. She just stepped across the court. She was letting it go. She had like 12 points at halftime, and she wound up scoring 38 points.
Mm.
She hit 8 3-pointers. Many of them was outside in the parking lot. But I
Just
tell you
out there.
what, yeah, she's pretty good out there. I tell you what, and it's not like she was just standing out there. She had people in her face, and she was just
Mhm.
like knocking them down. And she made some dynamite passes. She made some good decisions. She played really good defense. At times, she kind of showboats a little bit too much. But other than that, I think Clark is going to be a really good WNBA player. Uh, After a little while playing the game and getting to learn what it's all about. On the other hand, my poor Angel Reese girl, she wants to get and do her TikTok and everything and talk about her getting her hair done every day, or every other day and this and that. She need to get out there and get her behind in shape
Mm.
and learn how
With some
to
suicide.
Mm.
right, learn how to
Mhm.
play up under the basket. Play. Now, look, she's a good rebounder, offensive and defensively. Of course, in the last game where they lost to Mississippi State, she had 20 points and
Go
20
State.
rebounds. But Mississippi State, they went cooking on them down there in Starkville. I was like, come on, Angel. She couldn't get it done. She
Hmm.
couldn't score. She shot maybe 5 or 6 times in a row, missing shots at point blank of the basket, and she just couldn't. She just couldn't get it in. Got a shot blocked several times, and she's definitely is not a down low player. She can't play with a back to the basket. She has to be facing the basket, maybe 2 or 3 feet from the basket. She's not a perimeter player, and she can't really dribble the
Mm-mm.
ball. So when it comes to
Mm-mm.
WNBA talk for her, Cheryl Swoop, yeah, you got somebody that you hit the nail on the head with when you talk about Angel Reese as far as being a NBA really good player. Other than that, Angel Reese is 6'3". She's tall enough to be a really good college player, and she's effective rebounding. But her offensive game needs to be a lot better, and her footwork needs to be a lot better, and especially getting in shape needs to be a whole lot better. Coach Mack, clean it up for me, please.
Yes. Ron, you really said it all, and I can 100% agree with you when it comes to Caitlin. When I think about Caitlin, I think about Sabrina Ionescu. That's the type of player that I see Caitlin as being, but a much better shooter. Um, I think Caitlin's gonna be fine once she gets to the WNBA, simply because the girl got range from anywhere, and
Mm.
it's hard to guard her, even when you are way beyond the 3 point line. So, how many WNBA players do you know are really just shooting that deep? It's not that many. Maybe one, maybe two. And she's even about to beat um, My mind just went blank. The She played for the Las Vegas Aces. The shooting guard there
Oh,
for
Sabina,
Aces. She's
Sabina.
about to beat her record. No, not Sabrina. Kelsey Plum. She's about to
Oh,
actually
okay.
beat her record, her college record, as far as point score. So right now, Kelsey is number one, and Caitlin is she's probably about a couple of hundred away from tying with her or exceeding her. So I think Caitlin's gonna be fine. Angel, not so much. Angel got a lot of work to do. And for one, definitely she's going to have to learn to be a much bigger threat offensively if she wants
Mhm.
to survive. Not thrive, but survive in the
Survive, and
WNBA.
that's survive is a key word
Yes.
right there. As a comment from Brandon Cunningham, she was out of gas.
She
And
Yes.
was.
indeed she was. And that, I do have to agree. When you watch that last foul, I said, "Ooh, I know that trick. That's an old dirty trick right there. I'm done. I'm tired. Hey, I'm coming down with all fours.
Coach, yeah.
I know I'm fouling out on this one." I
I'm.
said,
Well, you said,
that's
Coach, I'm cramping up. I'm
I'm
cramping
cramping
up.
up. Hey, that's an old dirty trick right there. I said, "Oh, she was done. She was
She
done,"
was
because
done.
there's no way you make that type of decision. But I will say it will be interesting to see what she decides to do, if she decides to use her last year of eligibility, or if she does want to go in the WNBA. And we have another comment. She's like the female Larry Bird. I'm gonna go with that applies to Caitlin Clark and not to
Yes,
Angel
yes,
Reese.
yes, yes, yes,
And
yes. I hope
that
so.
right, exactly. So speaking of which, of just development and improvement, Coach Mac, I want you to take us to school on your G League babies and give us some updates on the development, on what's going on with the G League feeding into the NBA right now.
Bring them babies on,
Yes, my G
girl.
League babies. My babies. So first off, I want to start out talking about the Memphis Grizzlies, how they have currently 7 players on their roster that have been called up from the G League. And that's pretty much half of their roster, which is exciting, but also concerning. Don't know what's happening to the rest of the players. We understand that Jai's out, but what's going on with everybody else? Don't know. As of right now, there have been about 30 players that have been called up to the G League this
Wow.
season, which
Wow.
is a lot, a lot. So that makes me question, like, man, what is the NBA? What are they looking to do now? Are they starting to look more into the G League to bring more players in? I mean, bring more players in because at one point G League wasn't as popular. You may
Mm-mm.
have a couple of them that will come, but now to have about 30 to get called up, and we're only just mid season.
Mm-hmm.
So is this going to be a new trend for a lot of players to come in? Is G League much more of a feeder now? So you go through the G League to get to the NBA. That's your blueprint. But yeah, I'm super excited about the Memphis Grizzlies are starting to allow more players to come in, and then you have the All Star that let me get to that because I definitely want to talk about one player that I told you guys was my favorite player, Brandon, who plays with the Golden State Warriors. So he is most
Yes,
definitely one of the rookies. If you guys watched the game the other night, he did very well in that game. I'm so excited for him. So Brandon is one of them. And then we had another one, Scoop. My guy Scoop. I love Scoop. I love to watch him play. So Scoop
hmm
Henderson is another
Mm-hmm.
former G League player who's doing exceptionally well in the NBA. And I think I talked to you guys about this the other day, saying how a lot of the G League players are performing a lot better than some of these veteran players.
yes.
So
And
And
hey,
the
that speaks
go G League.
volumes.
and the
That speaks
reason why
volume.
is that they're not getting paid a lot of money, and they want to show that they're worth that money that the NBA guys are getting paid. And I tell you what, I'm glad it's like that. I'm glad that they're letting the G League guys come up and saying like, well, these guys are not making as much money as you guys are, and they playing a lot better.
Oh yeah, I think it
Mm-hmm.
definitely allows a space to put the fire up
Mm-hmm.
under the behinds of some of these players. Don't get too comfortable.
That's good.
because it's somebody who's hungrier, who's worked harder, and put the time, the hours, the effort in, and they want your spot. It's
Hmm.
always
Mhm.
somebody after your spot. Never get
Hmm.
too comfortable. And so I really do like the fact that the G League is starting to make some noise as, hey,
Yes.
these guys can
Yes.
compete at this level with the NBA players. And we have a comment from Mr. Johnson just on the heels of our last conversation, not seeing a comparable player to Clark in the WNBA. And yes, we definitely agree with that. And that is
Hmm.
why we do believe that she will be so effective when she gets there. But, I do want to congratulate the NBA on, like I said, opening that space up and really adding players and utilizing the G League. That's what it's for. That was the intended
Mhm.
purpose. So why not use it? And if I'm the head coach of the Trailblazers,
Oh.
the Pistons, the Wizards, I'm
Check.
looking I'm looking at the G League like, hey, I know it's
Yep.
somebody in the G League right now that can come help us right now, because it is no reason for the Portland Trailblazers to have 56 points at third quarter while
Oh
their
my gosh.
opponents, which was OKC at the time, had
Right.
118 points in the third quarter. That should never happen. We should never see that on the NBA level. The
Yeah.
next
That's
day, let
not
me tell
NBA
you,
ball. Yeah.
that's not. Let me tell you how I would have had everybody's locker cleaned out. Okay, you would have heard a developing story about the G League team has swapped places with the NBA team, and NBA guys are playing in the G League for a few games, because you need to go think about your actions. It's no way. So
Yes.
I really do like that from a development standpoint. These guys, hey, they're getting the opportunities
Right.
to
Right.
be able to showcase their skills and really show the work that they can, and the effort and the way that they can contribute to the league. And as we're coming up on 10 minutes with the show, I do want to circle back to some NBA stuff really quick. As you all know, I love a bit of controversy. And I do want to talk about your boy, Doc Rivers. Okay.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
We know the situation with the Milwaukee Bucks. We know that he's came in, and they lost their game the other night. They lost
Hmm.
to, who was it? They lost to Denver
Denver.
again.
Denver.
The,
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
championship team. I mean, that's not an easy game for any team to go beat Denver. It was a close game, 113 to 107.
Hmm.
Despite the loss, I know Doc Rivers made some comments that, hey, they're laying out the foundations of what it's going to be like with him as a coach and so forth. But I did see some little rumors that popped up, and some little whispers. As Ron said, was it Chatterbug, or what'd you say, Ron, from Scutterbug? What's
Scuttlebug.
Scuttlebug, girl.
Scuttlebug?
That's a Louisiana
Yeah,
slang.
you know, some little Scuttlebug that Damian Lillard might be having some
Mm.
regrets about his
Mm.
departure from Portland, and possibly making comments about how he would still want to win a championship with Portland.
What?
So
Come on,
I'm just,
Dane.
as you can imagine, I'm like, well, hold on, Mr. Dame Time. You chose to leave and go to Milwaukee, and now it sounds like it may be some regret sitting in there. I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that. And we know his stat line hasn't been the best with the Milwaukee Bucks. He's having to take a back seat to Giannis because that's Giannis's team.
Hmm.
And now you've had a coach that started, and you have a new coach and Doc Rivers coming along. What are you guys' thoughts on the potential rumors about Damian Lillard?
Well, let me start
Uh,
this off,
Go
Coach.
ahead, Ron.
Let me start this off, please. Damon Leonard, I used to call him baby. Back in the day when he was in that baby stroller and he had that big old chain around his neck. So we used to call him baby. He acting like a baby now because of the way he's whining. and
Mm.
of course, it is
Mm.
Giannis's team. Should I say Giannis and his brother's team? Because
Oh my God.
because the cheerleader.
Please don't start me on that
There
one.
was also some whisper about the cheerleader getting, Doc Rivers saying, I ain't putting up with the cheerleader. We're gonna have to get him out of here. We're gonna have to make room to get us some players up in here. But anyway, Dane, just kind of chill a little bit, bro, and let Doc do his thing. He's a veteran coach. He's won an NBA championship, and he's just trying to, feel things out. But I just can't believe that the whispers of you saying that you want to go back to Portland, the way they've been playing, and the way they about ready to call all these G League people up. Come on, Dane.
Hmm.
I mean, you got,
Hmm.
Bobby Portis there. You got Lopez there. You got Middleton
Middleton.
there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got a whole lot of really good players there that have won an NBA championship along with Giannis. Come on now. All they just need is you. I mean, of course, they got rid of Holiday for you to come in there, but all they need is you, man. Just kind of, stick with the program and let's see what's going to happen. And I'm pretty sure Doc kind of guide y'all down the right path. Yeah, yeah, they have a good team. They have a good record. So there's no use to stir the pot.
Coach Mack.
Well, I guess for Dame, the grass ain't always greener on the other side, and he's
Hey,
starting to he's starting to feel that.
hey, it's greener where you water it.
Okay, but I mean, I think Dame should definitely give Doc a chance. I mean, like we talked earlier, although this probably wasn't the best decision to make during this time of the season, because now you have to make an adjustment. You have to get used to the coach. You have to get used to the style of play, the way he wants things to be done. And so, with that shift, they're going to come some losses. Hopefully, they will get everything together sooner than later because they were doing very well as a team. Um,
Mhm.
but as far as Dame wanting to go back to Portland, I don't know. Maybe he just feels like there it can be more about him. And so now
Mm.
he's kind of like the shadow, and that's just not so fun. And then when it comes to the cheerleader, you know what? Let's talk about that cheerleader right now because first
Oh
off,
yeah,
Go ahead, Coach Mack. While we got 6 minutes.
let's.
Go ahead, give us the rundown because the video I seen the other day, you sent that video in the chat, Coach Mack. When I tell you, I typed, I'm screaming. I literally was in tears at that video. I laughed so hard. Oh my gosh.
Coach Mack always sends the good
this
stuff,
man,
though.
I mean, you're gonna get pure comedy out of him. For real, like real talk. It's pure comedy. This man doing shoot around, doing warm up up here shooting, turn a whole 360 and literally just like I mean, what are we doing? But let me talk about this part. Who really voted for him for the All Star to
I
for
have
him to
no
start in the
idea.
All Star game? Like I
Wasn't
really,
me. Wasn't
really
me.
hope and wish that could be something that was revealed because I would love to see who actually put him on the ballot because
Who
that
put
is
him on the
straight.
ballot?
Who put him on the ballot? Because that is pure comedy. But and then on top of other teams, the Knicks, and what was the other teams that's actually looking into trading him.
Mm.
Now, could that possibly be something that Doc wants to negotiate? So that way we can get, the player that we need to be a championship team.
Mhm.
I don't
I
know.
believe. I believe.
But I don't the fact that somebody is even interested, I can't I don't even know what to say about him, but he on the team. Uh
You know,
there's hope for somebody. Just look at him. He's there.
he's there for a good time, not a long time. Because he was having a ball in the warm-ups. He start shuffling his feet and dancing after the shot. I said, "Oh, he is having a blast."
Oh yeah, he's
Okay.
having a blast. Yes.
Oh my
That is not
gosh.
what they need though. That is not
Yeah.
making them a championship team. And a comment from Brandon is that's the problem. Dame has to take a back seat. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when you think that you can take a back seat for the sake of a championship, then you're actually in that position after being the man for so long. It can be very tough.
Mm-hmm.
It can be,
Mhm.
especially when you've been the man since college, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
Damian Lillard went to
Mhm.
Weber State. When I
Right.
was a freshman in college, they played against our men's team. And I got to watch him live get 15 points in overtime. I mean, it was a phenomenal
Whoo! Oof.
performance. It was, and I remember they were like,
That's
this guy's
tough.
going to the league. This guy's going to the league. And during the course of the game, I'm like, oh, he's good. And then when overtime hit, I said, oh, he's going to the league, you know? And so you've been the man for so long. You were a franchise player, but for the sake of wanting a championship so bad, you decided to team up with another superstar who that's his team. Okay. That was,
Mhm.
you knew that coming in. So you already knew that, hey, there's a chance you're taking a back seat.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how that develops. You know, I definitely agree with you, Ron. I think he needs to give it some time. I think that is a hasty thing to say midway through your first season with them.
Right.
You know, you have to
Yeah.
let it develop. And not only that, but you haven't been performing that well.
Right.
So,
Right.
but I do
Mm.
think a contributing factor is now Dame is having to become a spot up shooter, which is
Mhm.
not necessarily his game. But
Yeah.
when you have Giannis coming downhill off of a rebound, there's nothing you could do but get out the way. You wouldn't
Right.
Mm.
jump in front of a moving train, would you?
Oh, oh, no, not me. Not me. Not Giannis. Oh no.
You
No,
know,
that's
you all you could do is get out the way. So
yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how those two are. I think they can make a really great combination. As Brandon said, Shaq and Kobe syndrome. I think they can
Right.
make a really great combo, but they really have to figure out how they both can work together and still both be effective without having to sabotage their style of play.
Right. Hey, Coach. I know that we're running out of time, but I want to hit on this before we end this awesome show. I
Yes,
want
let's
to.
hear it, Ron.
Okay. I want to hit on like. Of course, I saw some awesome women's basketball
Hmm.
last week. The Notre Dame UConn game was off the chain. I saw
Mhm.
the Mississippi State LSU game was off the chain. Of course, the South Carolina game was off the chain. Ole Miss has been playing some really good ball as of late, off the chain. On the man side, I saw Kentucky play the other day. I saw Houston beat Texas last night. I saw Georgia Tech beat North
Mhm. North
Carolina.
Carolina.
I saw South Carolina beat Tennessee. So I mean, the
Mhm.
action on the man and women's side are really getting hot, and I just can't wait till they get around the tournament time, conference tournament, and NCAA tournament time. I also want to see what's going to happen here in the next few days, coming down with the WNBA free agency of what's going to go on. I think it's supposed to hit
Mm.
tomorrow or February the 2nd.
Mhm.
And also, I want to see what's going on with the USA women's team tryout camp, which is in New York City, which has been going on. So there's a lot of stuff going on that I got my ear to the ground on about what's happening. And I tell you what, basketball is hot and heavy. Men's, women, NBA, WNBA, and of course, those G baby.
Oh, absolutely.
My G
Absolutely.
babies.
Yay.
There's another game that I want to add to run that was on last night that was pretty big, and
Oh,
that was Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Ole Miss beat them.
Mm,
Ole Miss beat Mississippi State last night, and baby, when I tell you that gym was packed,
mm.
that was
real
on the
good game
men's
last
side that
night.
won. That was
Yes,
on the
on the
men's
men's
side.
side, Ole Miss and
Right.
Mississippi State.
Wow.
Mississippi, Ole Miss has got a really good team. They only lost, I think, 2 games this year, maybe one,
Hmm.
Oh,
but they're
yeah.
really good. They're really
Lots of
good.
basketball updates. And just for our faithful fans that tune in, Unfortunately, but on a good note, because a big congratulations to our producer, Angel Martinez, behind the glass, who is going to have the opportunity to cover the Super Bowl next week.
Woohoo!
We will not be having
Woohoo!
a show next Wednesday as we will be in support and cheering for our favorite producer, Angel Martinez, to do his thing on that half. So we will be coming back the following week on Wednesday, where you can catch us live at Talking Hoops on Sports Radio 102.9 The Game, Radio Row, Vegas. That is where Angel is going. Thank you, Angel, for the update. And from the website, you can also download the app where you can catch us every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we will be talking and covering some of our favorite basketball topics and updates. And also, you will have the opportunity to download the app and watch us from the palm of your hand. Listen, we make things convenient to make sure everybody has a way to tune in to catch the updates coming from some of your favorite analysts, Ron Briscoe and Coach Mack. We just want to take the time to thank each and every one of you that tuned in, left a comment, and contributed to the show. And we look forward to seeing you all in the next 2 weeks. Have a great night. That's it for me, Coach Johnson, Coach
We'll
Mack, and Ron Briscoe. We'll see
we'll
you
see
all
you
soon.
later.